Good evening and welcome to Success in the City. My name is Helen Webster. I'm with the lovely
Sandra Scott and our fabulous guest who I'm delighted has come back to us after a big excursion trek across Mongolia is the lovely
Fran McNicol.
Welcome.
Thank you, Fran, for coming on. You're very honoured because we don't have many guests on twice. But we are super excited to find out about all of your adventures. And we did say that when you were on last time, we did say that we'd have you back to share your story with us. And we'll find out a little bit more about that a bit later on. So first, we shout out to the kids, any little people who've done amazing things this week. Fran, do you want to go first?
Yeah, I'll go first. I would like to shout out to Tabitha and Jasmine, who are the two little people who live on the farm where I am, and they have been fantastic supporting their mother who's just had surgery, and they've been doing all the work and all the chores, and they've been really responsible and really serious about it, and they've been fantastic.
Oh, that's quite stressful for a child when their mum goes to hospital. You know, it's very, very upsetting and stressful for kids. So well done to them.
Well done to you, San, because I was going to say it's amazing what you can get kids to do to be on the nice list.
No, my mum was very ill when I was 11 and I had to stay off school and look after her for a long time. It is really difficult as a kid. I always feel for kids who have to do that. Okay.
It's a big shout out to them. Peter Lloyd's listening in and he does a little wavy hand. So a little wavy hand back to Peter Lloyd. Yeah, so we're waving back to you, Pete. Sana, who are you going to shout to?
Yeah, just to shout out really to the kids who are at the, well, it's a nice thing for them, but our brothers are doing a kids party this evening, and there's a company that does it for nothing voluntarily, which is dead nice, isn't it? How cool. So they're having a party tonight, so shout out to all of them.
Brilliant. I'm going to shout out to St. Cecilia's Primary School.
Yeah.
So it's the Loo World Championship today.
Brilliant.
And everybody who has Loo, which is the big interactive playground in the world, all compete in a game at the same time.
Yeah.
And we were really fortunate that St. Cecilia's, because it was short notice, said we could go in and do it with the little tiny ones. So it was reception in year 1, which was dead cute. And then this afternoon, we went to Fazackley Primary. Mm-hmm. So massive shout out to year 4 and to the year 6 gang who were brilliant, and they just nailed it. They were just brilliant. They were ace. So big shout out to all of them, and thank you massively to Fazackley Primary and to St. Cecilia's for letting us go in, because it's a bit of a tough time in school, isn't it, in December with like Christmas plays, and they took the baby Jesus and all the decorations off the wall for us, and then they had to put it all back up again.
Oh God, really?
It took the stage away. So yeah, thank you to St. Cecilia's for that. Yeah. Okay. Success this week for you personally, something amazing that's happened to you this week. Should I go first?
Yeah, go on.
Okay, so Friday night, we went to the Scouse Panto in the Royal Court, which is absolutely hilarious. I've never been to one before. I'm definitely going next year. It is hilarious.
Really?
Oh, hilarious, yeah.
Good.
Super talented actors. How quick they are, they're so quick-witted, and brilliant, really, really funny. And it's quite a bit of a night out, so the audience sort of heckle and things like that, and they just answer it, they were brilliant, absolutely amazing. So brilliant, well done to them. And then I went to the Christmas markets in Manchester on Saturday with the family, so that was nice. So it's been quite festive this weekend, last weekend, sorry, so that's good. Yeah. What about you, San?
Well, I've had a few things, and a festive win, which I'm delighted about, is so I don't normally put the Christmas decorations up till a bit later, but for the past couple of years I have done. In lockdown I did, and last year we put it up early before my son's girlfriend went back to Italy, and she goes back to Italy on Friday morning. And so she's dead artistic and creative. So we got her to do the tree because she did it last year. And I was like, I wish I could have just wrapped it up as it was and kept it. So she's done, and it's gone to another level. So I'm really delighted. She did all my Christmas tree yesterday. So I made up, not that one, the big one, one in the lounge, not the little dinky one. So I'm delighted about that. That was a massive win. And we got another contract for interpreting, recommended from someone we're using.
Brilliant.
Came through today, so I'm delighted about that as well. So all cool stuff.
Brilliant. What about you, Fran?
I made a note and I've completely forgotten what I meant to write because I can't read my writing because I'm a doctor. So there we go. So my other win that was that I bought a new baby horse and she arrived safely on Saturday morning. And so that was all very sweet and very lovely. And she's only 7 months old and she's very, very cute. And then the bigger win was actually that we turned her out in the field with her new friends and she was really scooty and leery because it was all very new. And I went back to visit her on Sunday and she actually let me go right up to her and stroke her and touch her and be nice to her. So she's not going to be completely feral. So there we go.
Oh, amazing. And where did she come from?
She's come from Cheltenham, from Tullerah Connemara stud. So she's a Connemara cross. And she's going to be beautiful.
Oh, lovely, lovely. And are you going to ride her? Is that
Eventually, she's tiny now. So when I'm 55, she'll be ready for riding.
In another 20 years then?
Yeah. You're very sweet.
Amazing. Well, they're good. Okay, we're going to play this or that. Sam, do you want to go first? Do you want me to go first?
You go first. Go on.
Okay. On your advent calendar, do you open it first thing in the morning or later on in the evening? Fran?
I don't have an advent calendar this year because I've been very disorganized. But if I had one, I would be first thing in the morning. I'm not very good at waiting.
Yeah. What about you, Sam?
Well, I open it first thing in the morning if I have one at home, but with the one in the office that Helen bought, which was amazing, which I don't think she's had anything out of yet. No. And I let Emma open the thing and got to have his as well because he didn't like the sweets. It's been great. I've had 5 windows so far, wasn't it, today? And it's the best advent calendar ever. It's got swizzles in, Parma bar, everything. It's great. Shoes, quality advent calendar. And I've waited till the end of the day because I've tried to have some restraint, but then by the time it comes to go home, I go, oh, sod it and have something.
So I bought myself an advent calendar and then my mum bought me one.
Oh, what did you get?
Oh, wow.
So she should because she's my mum. So I've got a Percy Pig one and a Heroes one. So I have one in the morning and one in the afternoon.
Perfect.
So genius. Is it Naomi? Plant Napier?
Oh, Noemi. Hello, Noemi. She's one of the Mongolia crew, so that's lovely. She's in Canada.
Noemi Plant Napier. Is she in France?
She's French-Canadian, so she's in Saskatchewan, I think. I can't pronounce it very well.
Okay. Yeah. Bonsoir, Naomi. C'est le soir ici, mais peut-être c'est l'après-midi pour vous. Okay, there we go. Quebec. Je suis allée à Quebec. Où en Quebec? I said, where in Quebec? She can tell us now.
Amazing.
Well, we can communicate with everyone. It doesn't matter where they are.
Exactly. Peter Lloyd says the only advent calendar in this house is for the cat.
Oh,
brilliant.
Spoiled cat, Peter. That cat is spoiled.
I know.
Oh, south of Quebec City. Okay, I've probably driven through it on my way there to Quebec City.
Oh, well, Naomi will be able to chip in with the Mongolian stories as we go along, so that's cool. Thank you for listening in. Okay, go on, San, you're this or that.
Okay, so right, Fran, horse riding on the beach or horse riding across the plains?
Got to be across the plains.
Okay.
Well, because the landscapes in Mongolia were so vast that you really are riding across the world, basically.
Terrifying.
Amazing.
Exciting.
So I had very similar question, and mine was riding in the forest or riding in the desert.
No, I think that's different.
It's quite different. Yeah, no, definitely forest. So I'm not super brilliant in the heat. So we did have. We started in the Gobi, as you know, and we did have some incredibly hot days also in the sand dunes in the middle of Mongolia. And although it was stunningly beautiful and an incredible experience and completely foreign sort of environment, I am happier being a bit cooler because we live in the northwest and we never get to be hot here, do we? So
yeah, true. Yeah. Okay. Go on, San, your second one.
Okay. Would you rather? I wanted to ask a medical question because you're a surgeon, but the thing is, I'm so ignorant about stuff like that. I just can't, like, okay, so would you rather have a chat with a patient about a procedure or actually operate on them when they're anaesthetized? There you go.
So it's all part of the same thing. So I got into surgery because I liked the fact that you're actually doing something concrete to help people. You're not just fiddling with their medication or talking to them or holding their hand. But actually, the longer that I do it, the more I find that people are absolutely fascinating. And so having the chat beforehand and preparing them for the operation and allaying their fears and setting them up for success is equally as rewarding as getting stuck in and doing the operating.
And do you know when Helen was saying about your success the week, I thought, you've probably saved someone's life this morning if you've been to work. Do you know what I mean? Have you been to work this week, Fran?
Yeah, I'm on call this week, so I don't think we've saved a life this morning, but we've certainly done stuff that has made people much more comfortable and moved their treatment forward. So,
isn't that amazing? So I mean that you.
When I was made up, I went to Panto.
Yeah, I was made up. I had my Christmas tree decorated. That's shallower again. Fran saving lives on a daily basis. You're enhancing people's lives. Unbelievable, isn't it?
You can't talk about it on the radio, though. You wouldn't like it.
No, I wouldn't. You know, if I cut me, something like that, just like that.
What would you rather do, Sam? Would you rather operate or speak to somebody?
Well, if I operated on them, I'd end up in prison because I'm not qualified and would kill them. So I'd much rather have a conversation with somebody 100%.
Yeah, I think I'd rather have a chat with someone as well.
No, I would die.
I think it'd be quite cool, though. I do think it'd be quite cool to.
It is really, you would love it. It's really interesting. And the first time the first time people see an operation, there is this weird thing that you're not meant to see other people's blood and you're not meant to see other people's insides and stuff. But so it is quite natural to be squeamish. But most people end up completely fascinated. It's like when they come in for colonoscopy and they go, "Oh, I'm not going to watch the screen," and then halfway through the test, you can just see them peeking at the screen, and then they go, "Is that my insides?" And it's like,
I've done that when interpreting and seen the screen, and it's the only time they can have someone in with them when it's the interpreter for when they go under. And I have looked like, but it's fascinating because it's someone else's intestine, not mine. You know.
Yeah. Okay. Camping under the stars or camping in a tent?
So it depends on the weather, really. I mean, we camped every night. We moved camp every night, and we did have a tent every night. And there were, some nights we slept out, and other nights it was too cold or too midgy or just too wet, really. So I think the stars are always better, but it's nice to have the tent option.
Naomi says that depends if there's snakes or not. Yeah,
that too. Although the snake was in the loo pit, it wasn't. Well, no, she had it in her tent actually. So there was a pit viper in the loo, and we sort of moved it away from the loo, and then it appeared in someone's tent.
That's like your worst nightmare. That's like a horror story. Going to the toilet and a snake appears, but it's not actually a proper toilet you're talking about, because I've just heard you say the loo pit.
Yes.
Which indicates it was something dug in the ground.
It was a wedge dug in the ground. We'd had a tent there. It was all very civilized and very lovely. And so, yeah.
So did you have to, well, we'll ask you that later about the toilet tonight. This is
Julia Dorf. Julia Dorfman Fisher is listening in, and she says, or if it's raining. So if it's raining.
So she's another Mongolian adventurer compatriot.
All these adventurers
all my friends have come on to Success in the City. How cool is that?
Amazing.
We only have the best people.
So the doctor didn't want me to sleep outside because of the snakes. I slept in Kendall tent and woke up with snakes between my two mats. Woo.
Oh my gosh, no.
I've forgotten that.
Yeah, well, you'd have to have counselling when you got home to get over that, wouldn't you? To be able to sleep overnight. Imagine that.
What about you, Sam? Would you rather camp under the stars or in a tent?
Would you rather see a snake? Camp under the stars. In a tent? What? So a bear couldn't get me in a hotel, in a war,
in a hotel with glow stickers of stars on the
in a
ceiling.
Hilton.
Did you have them, the kids? They were the best.
In a safe place. In a safe.
I'd rather camp under the stars. Oh yeah, Chelsea Lee Stokes is listening in, and she was our former guest who's amazing, and she says under the stars. Well in Chelsea, I'm the same as you.
Chelsea.
Perfect. Okay, go on, Sam. Last one for you, and then we're going to hand it over to Fran.
Okay, last one. Okay, would you rather go on a long 3-month trek or spend 3 weeks in a 5-star hotel somewhere interesting with everything provided and have excursions for a day out at a time?
So I think I've nailed my colours to the post quite firmly there. I would much rather spend 3 months travelling across the country and seeing as much as possible in the company of amazing people. And 3 weeks in a 5-star resort actually sounds like my worst nightmare. We did have a couple of days. So the oh God, I've forgotten their names now. That's terrible. The Premier Western in Mongolia, in the capital city, gave us a couple of nights in their 5-star hotel when we got back, which was lovely. So thank you very much to them.
Well, and also, what if you were with the lovely people in the 5-star hotel?
Well, we were. We had our couple of nights there, but it was still actually much nicer being out on the road, I thought.
Yeah, I'm with Fran on that. I'd rather do a 3-month trek, whether it was run and walk and hiking.
On a horse. With
on a horse, yeah.
In a toilet pit.
There was only one snake. Don't exaggerate.
What about you, San? What would you rather do?
No, so right, I'm not being funny, but I like to see different places. So I'm not one of these people who would go to a country, stay in the resort and never leave. I think that's horrendous, and not try the local food. I don't like that, but I quite like city breaks, don't I, and sun and things. I like to see the country, definitely. So I would like to, so when we went to China and we did a charity thing, we went to 3 places, and I was really glad I did that. We did not go to China on horseback. And last time, before you went, we were talking to you before you went on your fundraising expedition. I mentioned a film I'd seen, a Russian and Mongolian film called Urga, Close to Eden, translated. And it's this lorry driver, and they go with these Mongo and the thing. And I was just like, oh my God, so it's really nice to hear you speaking so positively about your experience that I wouldn't have liked to do one bit. So well done. You deserve every penny for the fundraising you've done for the charities as well.
Okay.
So that's a no from me for that.
I thought that. I would have guessed that one. Okay, so Fran's back with us. Last time she was with us, we spoke about, she is a published author, and we spoke all about the book. So before we get into Mongolia, how's the book going?
So it's quietened down a bit, is the honest answer, but I'm still getting a steady stream of little orders. I still have signed author copies available, so if anyone wants a present for Christmas for their loved ones who are into horses or regenerative farming or soil health or how to look after our planet better, then I will put stuff on Success in the City. But it's been wonderful. I've met lots of lovely people through it, virtually and in real life, and it's been great having discussions about how we can improve our horses' lives and improve our own lives, and do stuff for the planet too.
Am I right in remembering, were you going somewhere to promote it that wasn't in England?
Yeah, so I went to Amsterdam, and we had a little do with Princess Marguerite of Holland. So yeah, that was quite cool. It was all thrown together at the last minute, so it actually ended up being quite a small bijou do. And she was a bit cross because she said if she'd have had a bit more notice, she could have got a lot more people there, and they would all have. So, but it was fabulous. We had a really good. Went to this amazingly posh stables with, the sitting room was better than my house, sort of thing. Wow. Had wine and cheese, and I talked about my book, and they all bought a few copies, and I like royalty now. Yeah,
so Heidi Telstad's listening in.
Oh, cool! Hi, Heidi.
I can't believe I didn't get a signed copy of Fran's book.
You can order one, love. I'll post it, but you do have to pay now. The deal is the trip deal is off.
I paid and you were on the show.
Yeah, exactly.
I paid for my copy. I don't even go horse riding.
So yeah, so if anybody wants a copy, we'll put all of the details on for Fran's book, and I'm delighted that it's still going really well. Is there any second book coming along, possibly?
There will have to be. So my slight problem is I can't decide what to write next. So there's obviously the Mongolia story, but that's all still settling in and shaking itself out. And then I was going to write a sort of follow-up more about horses and training and the relationship between humans and horses. And there's probably enough material for that. It just needs putting together. I need another, well, it sounds terrible, but the first book came about because I was in isolation due to COVID, and I had 2 weeks.
Yeah, we don't need that again, thanks.
No, exactly. But I had 2 weeks with nothing else to do, and that was what enabled me to get a really good start on it. So yeah, I don't want to wish another Armageddon on the planet, but 2 weeks of free time would be really nice.
Yeah, book into Sandra's 3 weeks in the 5-star hotel and you'll be able to write it there.
That's a good point, actually, yes.
Okay, so we're going to go to Mongolia now. What was the charity? How did you get involved? And then tell us all about your journey. And if our friends who are listening in want to chip in, that'd be lovely, about their adventures and their memories.
Yeah.
Well, that'd be cool. And why they did it and stuff like that. And then you've met so many lovely people, Fran, you know, who are your friends, which is, I think if you are spending 3 months with somebody riding across, you will become friends. And so, yeah, tell us all about that.
So the charity is, the main charity is the Valou Foundation, which is run by a Canadian lady called Julie Valou. And they have a kindergarten and also some other projects, but the main thing is the kindergarten, which is called the Children of the Peak. And the sort of short version is that in Mongolia, in the capital city, there is a very large rubbish dump, and there is a community of families who move into the capital and sort of make a living basically sifting through the rubbish and finding stuff to sell. And the kindergarten goes out, gets the children of those families, puts them in a safe place, feeds them, clothes them, gives them an education, and tries to break the cycle of poverty. They are also teaching them to grow vegetables. There's community projects that involve the mothers sewing, and they, you know, making coats and gears and stuff. So there's a whole range of related projects, but they've put hundreds and hundreds of children through the school now, and it's fabulous.
Brilliant.
How did you hear about it?
Facebook, the power of Facebook. So Julie and I have been Facebook friends for some time, and as you know, I am into barefoot horses, which is what the book was about. And there was a controversial post a few years ago that caused quite a lot of Facebook flaming, and I ended up sticking up for her. And then, you know, we sort of became virtual friends through that. And then she advertised the trip, and I'd been to Mongolia before. It fell in love with the country, but thought 3 months, that is absolutely the perfect way to see as much of the country as possible. And almost, sounds terrible, but tick it off properly, because, you know, there's so many places you want to see, and there's so many places you want to go. And I don't like being a tourist for 2 weeks. I like being there and experiencing it. And so it ticked all those boxes, and it was on horses. And I just thought, what a wonderful way to see as much of this country as possible and do good at the same time.
I know I'm joking about my 5-star hotel, but to see it properly and truly and how they live, because that is part of the Mongolian culture. It is this vast country, isn't it? You know, and they're known for their skills with horses.
Absolutely, the home of horsemanship and all sorts of stuff. So yeah, and we're all descended from Genghis Khan, aren't we? So you get to see your roots and your origins as well.
Did you eat yak? Did you drink yak's milk?
Yes, I think we drank every sort of milk. So actually, the most exotic milk ended up being camel milk.
Nice.
We didn't get much milk at all, is the honest answer, but there were bits and pieces along the way. And then they also make vodka out of all sorts of milk and cheese out of all sorts of milk. So yeah, we had mare and sheep and camel and yak and a few other things probably that I can't remember.
Where did you set off from and where did you finish?
So the original plan that we were actually going to start from Shambhala, you know, the song from the 70s, The Road to Shambhala. But then they had a foot and mouth outbreak just before we were due to leave. So we had a slight rearrangement and we set off from Sarah's Gare camp just outside Ulaanbaatar. And then we went all the way east to the sort of easternmost point of the Gobi Desert. And then we drove back and did the second half of the ride from UB again and out west. So we did go from, we did the whole route, but we did some of it backwards.
You did it in 2 parts because of disease and stuff. Okay. And
so how long were you riding for every day?
It varied. So we did about 50 kilometers a day. I think the longest day we did was 70 kilometers, and then we did a couple of short days due to terrain and stuff. But essentially it was about between 4 and 6 hours riding. And so I had this lovely dream that we'd be cantering across the Mongolian countryside and it would all be fabulous. And 50 kilometers doesn't actually take very long if you're moving along. And then what actually happened was that the ground squirrels and the rodents and the pikas are absolutely in charge of Mongolia. And there were holes everywhere. And so you'd look at this thing and it would look like beautiful terrain. And then there'd just be burrows and holes and tunnels. And so there were days when we were literally walking and trotting and horses were falling through what looked like solid ground. So it wasn't quite, it wasn't quite as good as the dream, but then the days where it did work were wonderful.
Amazing.
Nightmare.
Sandra's just having a flip now because you mentioned the word rodent.
Oh, okay, yes, I'd forgotten the whole rodent thing. You don't like that, do you?
I've just been teaching a kid online before and she was describing a friend for school and we were doing, what was we doing? Spanish. So we were going through it all and she goes, oh, and she's got two pet rats. I went, no, we're not putting that in. And she went, what? I said, we're not putting that in. We're not doing it. And we kind of, and so we did this big thing. I said, you're not saying, and she was like, I said, I don't care. I hate them. And so we did everything. So we left.
You would like ground squirrels. They're really cute. They look like squirrels, but they just.
Do they have a squirrel's tail?
They do, yeah.
So they don't look
like burrows instead of being in trees. They're very sweet.
Right, fine. Okay, ground squirrels are all right. Did they have them? So you went to the, the capital. I know we're jumping around here, but I've got loads of questions because we haven't had a catch up, which we should have done. When you went, did you stay in Ulaanbaatar, did you say? How long did you have in the capital?
So we had I had a day and a half in UB before we set off, but actually due to my, hectic schedule, I spent most of it in the hotel finishing a university assignment. So I managed one dinner out and then we set off on the bus. And then when we came back, we had, I think 2 or 3 days in UB to go shopping and to have showers and recover and stuff like that. So
how many were in your team?
So there were 17 riders from all over the world. As you can see from the attendance on this broadcast, and then there were probably about 16 or 17 team altogether, as in Mongolian crew and helpers and stuff. But they weren't all with us at the same time. They sort of came and went depending on what was needed and what they had to do at home as well.
And were they did they sort of ride ahead, set camp up for you, or did you guys have to set your own camp up?
So we had vehicle support. So we had we had a doctor and another vehicle with us or near us all the time, and then the gear sort of went off in another bus or another vehicle. And so theoretically, they were meant to be ahead of us and set camp up, but they sometimes got lost, sometimes they got bogged, sometimes they got stuck in the sand. So we did have some days where we arrived at where camp was and they weren't there yet. And we got quite good at putting up our own tents, because when you've been waiting for your tent for an hour, when it arrives, you're just like, yeah, I'll have that. And then we also had, we had about 5 days where the vehicles couldn't follow us, basically. So we had pack horses, and everyone came for that when we went to see the reindeer people. And then there was also a section in Incredible Bog where we had sort of 5 of the Russian 4-wheel drive. They look like Volkswagen transporters, but then they're on sort of jacked up wheels, and every wheel works individually, and they just took it in turns to get stuck and pull each other out and trundle around. So,
and
yeah.
What was the food? So what was the food like, and how did you eat when you were traveling and on? Did you have to like just do like camp stove type thing all the time?
No, we were very spoiled. So this is, I thought it was going to be a big adventure, and then actually we were very well looked after. So it wasn't quite as adventurous as I was expecting. But so we had a chef, we had a cook who a Mongolian cook, and she cooked for us. 3 times a day really. Lunch was a bit variable, but the breakfast and dinner were good. But when you're out in the sticks and far away from all the shops and the supply lines, obviously the amount of the variety of food that you can get is limited. The Mongolians ate mutton all the time, but it really was mutton, not lamb. And when you're not used to eating 12-year-old sheep, it's really not very nice. So we had sort of westernized food. Rice and pasta featured quite a lot. And then towards the end, peanut butter and salmon pate. And Haribo should have sponsored us. We ate more sweets than I have ever eaten in my life before. And then vegetables, we were literally buying like pickled gherkins and pickled beetroots, because that was the nearest you could get to real veg.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow, amazing. What was your favorite meal?
They do these things, we call them pockets. I think they're called hosha. So they're sort of like, they're like pasties or wraps. So it's like a doughy thing with stuffing, and the stuffing varied. It could be tuna, or it could be pasta, or one day it was mashed potato actually, which was amazing. And then they flash fry them, and they're really good.
Lovely. Can't forget the tuna, Julia says.
No, can't forget the tuna.
Get the tuna, yeah. So was it a mix? How did the other people get to go?
So everyone, I think the thing we all had in common was horses and a love of adventure. And everyone, some people had been to Mongolia before. Some people just wanted to ride horses across Mongolia. Real international mix. And then I think the interesting thing was that actually 17 people who are in a position to step away from their lives for 3 months actually makes for a really interesting group. So it wasn't so much that everyone had horses in common, it was the fact that everyone had that little maverick streak, that they didn't need to stay home and pay the mortgage, etc. They were. And we were interviewed, and Julie did a really good job on selection, and she had turned a few people down apparently, but the people she chose, we didn't agree on everything, we didn't see eye to eye on everything, but actually there were no big fights, there were no big disasters, and everyone was really interesting to talk to.
Yeah, because I was going to say, did everybody go for the whole 3 months, or did people come and go, through it?
So mostly the whole 3 months, and then there was a charity place which was split between a local guy who is Scottish but lives in Mongolia and was just getting into riding, and then there's an Australian girl called Chris Ryan who has just had surgery today actually, so we all need to send her super positive healing vibes. But she's an ITU nurse in London, and she couldn't get leave for the whole thing. So the compromise was that they gave her 6 weeks.
I was going to say that, Fran, if you don't mind me saying, were they all right at the hospital when you said, I want 3 months off?
So all right is an interesting thing. So my team were very supportive, basically because I told them that I would resign if they didn't let me go. And I think they knew I was quite serious.
Yeah, she wanted to do it.
Because I really wanted to do it. And then they originally, I had sort of arranged all my leave, and I said, right, I'll use all my annual leave and then do the holiday. And then about 6 weeks before I was due to leave, they said, oh no, you can't, we need someone to do your work while you're away. So they made me take 2 months of unpaid leave. And I think in retrospect, they thought that would stop me going. But
Yeah.
actually, I had been cunning and clever and prepared for that and saved a load of extra money because I just thought that something like that might happen. So when they said, oh, you have to take 2 months of unpaid leave, I said, okay, that's fine, no problem. And toddled off. And they didn't get anyone else to do my work, and they didn't get a locum. And I came back to all my patients, who were all very understanding and very excited about the fact I'd been away, actually.
Isn't that lovely?
Yeah.
And Fran, how much did you make for the charity? How much did you raise?
So the standing total at the moment, I think, is about $150,000 between the whole group.
Wow.
So, you know, we all got set a minimum target of $4,000 each, which actually I thought was huge. And particularly at the tail end of COVID, I was really quite reticent about asking people because, you know, I mean, particularly in Liverpool, as you know, people had a really hard time. And anyway, but people were fantastically generous. And then as we got going and as we were sharing stuff and sharing the journey, the totals just kept going up. So yeah, $150,000, including the gala at the end. And I presume people are still doing a little bit. So it might, the donation pages for us will probably close at the end of the year. So again, I will put the link on Success in the City, and if anyone else would like to contribute,
we'll definitely have a share on it.
Yeah, I've just shared the link to your book, Fran, again, for anyone who wants to read that. Because I think when you write the book about your journey in Mongolia and the trip, as what happens, this happens, doesn't it, with films, with horses and things, you do a movie, you do books, stuff like that. The second one or third one gains momentum. People go back and get the earlier one. So I've just shared the link for that, and we'll share the link for your fundraiser again. And that is, if it's US dollars, approximately £115,283.
Wow, that's cool.
That's something else, isn't it?
And did they tell you, did they say like X amount of pounds enables us to look after a child for so long, or?
I don't know those figures, I'm sorry.
No, that's all right. I just didn't know. Sometimes, you know, they say, oh, if people donated £5 enables them to have a meal or whatever, because sometimes it's quite nice when I think people sort of go, oh, you know, a fiver, and people can, you know, but it's amazing. And I think amazing now more people know.
Yeah, I mean, I think the main thing was they were trying to rebuild one of the kindergartens because it's basically a porter cabin shack type thing, and the money that they needed to rebuild it was $120,000. So we've definitely done that. So that's
brilliant.
Really cool.
So that's amazing. So they'll have a new site to be able to probably house more children, won't they?
Yeah.
Not only do you save people's lives or enhance them on a daily basis at work with your surgery, you've gone and done that in your time off, and the most of it you've done unpaid. You know, and whilst you have had a wonderful experience, I bet there was some pretty arduous moments and sometimes where you're exhausted and drained and thought, oh God, you know.
Yeah, no, there's always bad days, aren't there? And and it was a bit like Groundhog Day because you got up every morning and had to go riding, and some days were wonderful and then other days it was just like plodding along, and particularly when there were holes everywhere or the ground was really stony. And we did have every weather. We had, you know, really hot days, which I found quite hard. We had snowstorms. We had a sandstorm. We had a couple of days of really freezing rain, which, you know, was difficult when you're stuck out in it. So, yeah, it was tough, but just a really good group of people, and everyone dug in and kept each other going, really.
And that must be quite tricky to choose 17 people who are going to be together for 3 months. So I'm going to give a big, massive shout out to Julia for boxing that off.
Yeah, no, absolutely. The selection was fabulous. And I mean, I said to you before that, you know, the thing about going away with strangers is you can't argue with strangers, can you? So it takes about 6 weeks to get to know each other well enough to start having a fight.
Amazing.
And that was about right. The little tense moments were about halfway through, and then we sorted it out and carried on.
And was it a mixture of ages and things?
Yeah, mixture of ages, all sorts of different walks of life, and many different nations.
And Fran, what was like the most shocking thing, or the thing? I know you said you've been to Mongolia before, which must have helped and prepared you, but was there something you hadn't anticipated or didn't expect, or was such a cultural difference it took you by surprise?
Not this time. I think the general thing is how how remote some parts of Mongolia are, but how connected they are. So it's not like this enormous wild country. That sounds there's every bit of it is used, but there's no permanent habitations or permanent structures. And then the Gers, they have a satellite dish, and they have the solar panel. And so although they are literally in the middle of nowhere with just the stuff that they can put on the back of their truck or on the back of 3 camels, they're actually quite connected to the modern world as well. And so I think it is, how the juxtaposition of completely modern technology with completely simple way of life is really...
And a way of life that's been going on for centuries as well.
Absolutely.
Etc. And what the time of year you went, was it warm? Because when I watched the film about Mongolia and everything, they were freezing, and it looked so cold.
So they have the fiercest winters. I mean, Julie shared a post the other day, and it was -40 in Ulaanbaatar, which is colder than Antarctica at the moment. So our route, had we gone the way we meant to, where we started in the eastern Gobi, we were basically following summer all the way west. Because we ended up starting in the middle, it hadn't quite warmed up there yet, which was how we got the rain and the snow and stuff. Okay. But it wasn't terrible, it was all basically temperate rather than crazy temperatures. And we had enough clothes.
So Heidi's listening in, and she says, any new adventures planned, Fran McNicol?
Yeah.
So I signed up to do the Gaucho Derby in February 2024, which is an endurance race in Patagonia.
So tell us about that.
It's 700 kilometers over 10 days, and it's more like a proper race, and you're more self-sufficient and have to do your own navigation, and you change horses at various intervals, and it's in Patagonia, so the conditions are going to be challenging, and I'm doing that with Duncan, who is the Australian that I met in Mongolia. So you can all simper and giggle now, because that was the new love interest that we weren't quite mentioning. So we're going to go and do the Gaucho Derby, and then I'm hoping to persuade a couple of the others to come with us as well.
Amazing. So my Uncle Ron's listening in. Sorry.
Oh, hi, Ron.
Best questions come from Uncle Ron.
Best questions do come from Uncle Ron. What language did you converse in?
Mostly sign language would be the honest answer. So obviously all the riders had English in common, although Noemi is French Canadian, so we did practice a little bit of French, but not enough, Sandra. You wouldn't have been proud of me, I'm afraid. And then the Mongolians, a couple of them have reasonable English. Some of them had no English at all, so we had interpreters, and it's just amazing, as you know, how much you can do by non-verbal communication and the odd
So you had Mongolian interpreters.
Yeah. Well, we had a couple of. So Julie speaks Mongolian fluently, although with a Canadian accent that puzzles people when they haven't heard it before. And then one of the guys from Horse Trek Mongolia, called Seikner, who is the son of the owners of Horse Trek Mongolia, his English was really good. And then the others, I think, actually understood a bit more than they let on, possibly. But,
Amazing.
It's so interesting what you did. So when did you actually get back?
So I got back from Mongolia at the end of July. So we have been very lax in catching up.
We have. Yeah, but you've got your new mates now, Fran. You've got your international friends. No, that's okay. Oh no, what an adventure though. I was joking before about the 5-star hotel, not really, because it's such an amazing thing, what an opportunity, to have done and everything. And I bet you didn't have to clean up after your horse, because you were in the wilderness, so it wasn't like in the streets over the water, was it?
Yeah, no chores to do. We were very well looked after. The worst thing actually was the tents, because we bought a couple of dustpan and brushes to brush out the tents, because when you're getting tents every night and someone else has been in it the night before and left sweet wrappers and tissues in it and stuff like that, it's not very civilized, is it? So,
no, we'll be having words with them.
yeah.
So what was your horse called?
And we had lots of horses. So
Okay.
I worked out, I probably rode 40 or 50 different horses over the trip, because we changed horses every 10 to 14 days so that they weren't all doing too much distance. So I think we had 4 main groups. I had a couple of favorites. So my favorite horse was called Freddie the Ferrari, and he was tiny and very whizzy and very keen. And he's the one that really stuck out.
And so, you know, when you're riding a horse, so I'm not a horse rider, but you know, when you get in a car, when you can drive a car, and then you get in lots of different cars and they all go the same way, but you have like slight little different, you know, maybe the indicators are on the other side or something. A horse is the same.
No.
Or do they all just do what you're supposed to do?
Yeah, I've got indicators, how?
No, I mean, is it like, does it take a while to get used to a horse, or do they just get on and off you go?
So some are really good and really straightforward and just used to, you know, or either well trained or used to different people riding them, and others are just slightly more eccentric or exciting, or less compliant. So yeah, we had some, you know, we had some really cool horses, and we had some that were hard work. And the other thing was, by the time they'd done, you know, 10 days and 500 kilometers, quite a lot of them were hard work by that stage, because they were tired as well, because it was an endurance test for the horses as well as for us.
Of course. I've also just shared that, I'm just putting it on now, the fundraising link as well. Okay, so I'm going.
How long or how many kilometers was the whole of the trek?
So it was 3,640 altogether. Wow. So the equivalent things, the one that stuck with me was, it's the same as riding from London to Azerbaijan.
Wow.
So yeah, 84 days and an average of 54 kilometers a day.
Wow.
Yeah.
And when you're sort of riding every day, so if you were on a bike, your bum would be sore, you know what I mean? Is it the same on a saddle?
Yes, particularly on, so I have a lovely, comfortable saddle at home. The saddles in Mongolia were not quite so lovely and comfortable. And Heidi's going to put a comment on any second about the shark fin, I can just tell. So they were, you know, they were not the best made saddles, and Julie won't mind me saying that, because she was disappointed with them as well. The Mongolians have this amazing long, it's like a sort of dressing gown robe thing called a deal, and they come with a bit of padding, and they're really practical garments because they are warm, and you can take the, you know, you can open them up, or you can take the sleeve off, or you can wear them in various configurations. So they're really good for different changeable weather. But the best thing is they provide padding for your bottom. So I mostly wore my deal every day, because without it, the saddle was quite uncomfortable, and with the extra padding, it was tolerable.
Yeah. So Heidi says shark fin up the crotch.
Oh, Heidi.
Yeah. Naomi's done it quite nice, and she's put a little shark and a little pair of pants. So she's done a nice little gift, little meme.
Naomi's the lady, yes.
Yeah. And Julia says sheepskin and deal.
Yes. So Julia had double padding.
Excellent. Brilliant. Well, what an adventure you've had. It's amazing. And thank you so much for coming back on and sharing your story with us. And as Sandra said, she shared the link, and she shared the link to your book. And if anybody's got any questions, anything like that, you know, fire them over, because it's amazing. But we do have a little sort of agenda that we go by. So congratulations to you on your adventure.
Oh, thank you so much for having me on to talk about it as well. It's just,
and to all your friends who've listened in, thank you to all of them.
Absolutely, yeah,
lovely,
which is lovely. Yeah, which is lovely, and congratulations to all of them as well. You know, for the endurance and the fundraising and everything, and you know, you've all made such a massive difference to people's lives. So we're going to say thank you for that. So Redface, you must have one from the trip. I'm sure somebody else must have one from the trip. if there's something slightly embarrassing happened on the trip that you can share, maybe somebody's going to share something that you've forgotten about. What about you, San?
Well, I had a hilarious thing, something I haven't done for ages. Last week on Wednesday evening, we had we've got a step up Spanish course going on at the moment in town. So I was writing on the whiteboard, writing away. I got carried away, etc., and went to rub it off, and realised I'd used the permanent marker upstairs, and I haven't done that for years. And when I was a teacher, the teaching assistant used to hand me the writes all the time, and I'd go, and I had a TA who was absolutely amazing, and I'd go, and the pen had appeared in my hand. She was just amazing, and I'd go, thank you, and carry on. And I was just like, oh no. So Saturday morning, I went in first thing, and I got the gel, and as we had our Ukrainian class going on, and I was there cleaning, but it took me about 20 minutes because I used the hand gel, so that fortunately got it all off. But so it was a big red face moment, but then it was all sorted, so it was brilliant. A victory as well. So that was good.
So Janelle White is listening in, and she says, which I'm going to ask Fran to share, Fran's many birthday celebrations.
So I turned 50 while I was there, and so it started off, this cake appeared on the table one morning, and it was 2 days before my birthday, so we thought that was an early birthday cake because obviously we couldn't read the inscription on it. Then it turned out that was the International Women's Day cake. But anyway, we ate it. It was meant for us. It was all fine. We just got the message wrong. And then the next day was another pre-birthday, and then I finally had my proper birthday. And so my birthday went on for about a week. It was brilliant.
Genius. It should go on for a whole year. Well done. Did you have a red face that you're going to share with us?
I did. I actually thought of a better one when you mentioned the trip. So it wasn't all suffering, is what I'm going to say. And there was some alcohol consumed in the evenings. And so my classic red face moment was I decided that I would go and sit by the river and just have a little minute to myself on my way back to my tent and admire the stars and, all of that stuff. But I was a little bit the worse for wear. And so I had a little teeter on the edge of the river and ended up sitting in the river. And then was like getting out going, nobody saw that. I'm still really, I'm a dignified, responsible person. Nobody's allowed to see that.
Oh no, that's
so Heidi's laughing and she says the river with little laughing faces. I love that. That's boss. That's amazing.
Been eaten by a bear or anything. Or snake or whatever, No.
Brilliant. That's a good red face. So my red face is I took a water bottle home from the office.
This is hilarious. Sorry.
About 3 weeks ago. So I thought, that's a bit weird, isn't it, that it's in the kitchen? I don't remember bringing it in here. And I thought, Sandra might have just taken it in, gone to wash it for me and left it in there. So I took the water bottle and I took it home. And then a little note appeared in the kitchen saying, hello, a blue flask with little dogs on has gone missing from the kitchen and it's one of my favourites. I thought, oh, that's a bit weird, isn't it? That's the same as mine. That's like, Anyway, on Saturday, I was cleaning the car to put Lou in. I know, I'd taken Lou out. And I looked under the seat and there was so I had two. So I sterilised and realised which one was theirs. I put them in Milton's overnight and then I took it back and I've put a little card. Well, I made a little hand card.
Well, hang on a minute. Chocolates. There's something to add to this. So first of all, I was unaware of this. She didn't tell me anything about this at all. I don't know if people can say. I just went in to wash the cups in the kitchen by the office and you can't see it terribly well. There we go. And I went in and I thought, that's Helen's writing. And I said, I am not a bottle thief. And it was the bottle and a little box of Quality Street. Well, I howled laughing. And she wrote inside, I'm really sorry. It took blah, blah, blah. Mine's the same. But because I didn't know, because I'd seen the first note, I knew I didn't have it. Thought nothing of it. And then I was howling. But I thought it was very good of you to buy them some chocolates as well.
Well, I feel ashamed because they'll all be like looking. And then I realised I signed my name on the card. on my little note to sign my name. I could have just put anonymous.
Oh, that's hilarious.
Bottle thief. I thought it was hilarious.
Yeah. So
We know where
to
to
the
look
person
then
whose
next
bottle
time.
has took, apologies. I generally thought it was mine.
Well, they're on a winner because it's easily done, and you've bought them a box of Quality Street, which I thought was very kind.
I know, because I just thought I needed to make amends because it meant something to them. Anyway, that was my red face. So shout out to the grown-ups, any grown-ups who've done amazing things. I'm going to go first. Shout out to Bernie Hollywood, who was our guest, who in 6 days' time is starting his rowing. And we are going to share his story. He's doing the Atlantic, what's it called?
The crossing, single-handed.
Yeah, he's going to do 1 million strokes, basically.
Horrendous.
And I think that's going to take him about 3 months, isn't it?
Yeah. I mean, we've had you on, Fran, who did the trek across Mongolia. We've had Bernie Hollywood on, who's doing the transatlantic journey. We had Peter Dicker, who went to Nepal, and they were building an orphanage and then a trek. Honest to God, we've
amazing.
Just so
doing amazing things. And I'm going to shout out to Emily Hughes. So Ems has passed her exam. So she was doing it 2 years ago, had a bit of a tough year, put it on hold, and then she's passed her nursery nurse level 3 exam today. So well in, Ems.
Well done, Emily.
What about you, Fran?
So I would, it's changeover day tomorrow. So we're losing the first batch of junior doctors from the colorectal team at the Royal. And I'd just like to say thank you to the outgoing team because it was their first job as junior doctors. They have been amazing. They've worked really hard. They've made life really easy. And it's been an absolute pleasure to have them on the ward. And the new guys will not be able to live up to the standard that they have set.
So the first experience as a junior doctor was on the colorectal ward. How lovely.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well done for them.
We look after them, Sandra. That's why.
Yeah.
We'd have to, God. Okay, so shout out to Joe Swinburne, who was in the choir on Sunday. They were raising funds for an hour for others at the Unitarian Church in Ullett Road. Okay, and then Dana's in her play, isn't she? In this weekend as well, which is on Sunday too. Shout out to Danny DeBrabner, and I know I've worn the sweatshirts before. Team DDB, they've got the link now. The link is on, so you can buy the sweatshirts online, and there's black and gold ones and t-shirts. They're very, very good quality and very toasty as well.
They are.
Yeah, that's it for me today.
Brilliant. So well done to everybody. Fran, a positive challenge that people could do this week?
Try and learn something new every day. I think that's always.
Oh, that's my life by default. Learn something. Did you learn anything in Mongolian?
Baetla means thank you.
Nice. Sandra will be learning Mongolian now.
I've got a phrase book. I'll send it to you.
Is it the Cyrillic alphabet? That's all I want to know. I've refrained from the language conversation, but is it?
It is, yeah. It's not. It's its own Cyrillic. It's not Russian Cyrillic. It's a special one.
Okay. I know what I've just asked. Hell, don't worry. Catatonic.
I'm just looking around. Yeah, like genius. So excited. So we want to say a massive thank you to Fran, a massive thank you to everybody for listening. Thank you to all Fran's new friends who've listened in. Congratulations to all of you for your adventure. And hopefully they will join you in Patagonia on your trek if you want them to. And keep us updated on everything that you guys are doing because amazing things.
Thank you so much.
So we have a mantra that you live by. And Fran is going to close our session or our interview, whatever it is. What is it?
Whatever.
Generally. And you didn't tell me that one in the prep. So
apologies.
Sorry.
Do something every day that scares you.
Well, I think that is your mantra because you said that to us last time. I remember that. Let's do something every. But I do that.
Like sleep with snakes.
By accident. Well, yeah. Going to the toilet in a snake-infested pit, which is how I'm visualizing it now, is definitely a scary experience.
It was
Yeah.
one cute little snake. It wasn't that.
I was going to say, yeah.
Snake, that's an oxymoron, but well done you. But more importantly, the money you raised and the difference you've made to those children's lives. So do something every day that scares you.
Yeah, brilliant. Thank you, Fran. Thank you, Sandra. And we will see everybody next week.
Thank you.
Well done, Fran. So exciting.